All right, man. So obviously we got we got stuff that is happening, right? You can see it already in the first two preseason games, right? The first two preseason games happened Sunday and Monday, and you've seen it, especially with the what's going viral right now with the Steph Curry clip, right? We kind of knew going into this the preseason into this regular season how there's new rule changes, right? For those of you who don't know, obviously the rule changes, like these aren't, people are thinking that, oh, they're not changing the rules, they're just adjusting. That's still changing the rules, right? Even though it has existed where they've had it where, certain situations they're not going to call a foul, like you kick your leg is going to be offensive foul. There's certain situations where, right, the unnatural movement was what they call it. They're not going to, is either going to be non-calls or it's either going to be an offensive foul, right? And that's been like that for a couple of seasons. They've been doing it, but it's been more like, I would say, have to be like 80-20 on the side of the offensive player, where the unnatural movement or whatever they deemed everything as has been rewarded, right? Like, the Trae Young bump, scooping the arm, like dictating and drawing the fouls OD in terms of you're aggressive and committing it or taking advantage of them being out of position. I still always side on the offensive player because you're making a mistake and the offensive player is taking advantage of your mistake that you made. So all you need to do is adjust your mistake and you're not in that position. But again, people want it to be as fair as possible. So it's hard to have a perfect balance in this situation where, like, for example, the Steph Curry clip where it happened where he did a step back, the twinkle toes escape step back. He pump faked. And, Nazir Little jumped. And Nazir Little jumping, automatically that should be an offensive foul because in the past, once you jump and you bit, you made a mistake, right? If I pump fake, you made a mistake. You bit on the pump fake. You jump. Now you're out of position. You're jumping into me. I could jump into you or I could go straight up. It don't matter. I'm drawing the foul because you bit on the pump fake. You're airborne, right? You have no control of your body. So you'll see in some situations, if the man lands and then the man jumps in, they don't call it. That's legal because he landed. He negated the mistake he made. He's back to square one. Now you jump. You jump too late. That has been the past, right? In the past, that has been the times where they don't call the foul. But majority of the times, if you jump, pump fake and he jumps into you, even if you jump into him, it's going to be a foul because they're going to reward the offensive player for taking advantage and creating, like they sold the pump fake, you jumped. They're taking advantage of a mistake you made, right? In terms of the defense. So that's always, I side with that because, again, you made a mistake. Why are you getting rewarded for making a mistake? Why did you jump? If you don't jump, that's when you see sometimes pump fake, they don't jump. Even if they slide a little bit, you try and jump into him, they don't call it. It negates it because he didn't jump. He's still in great position, right? And that's how you play. You see PJ Tucker do it all the time. You see other guys do it all the time and they don't call that shit. So that's a way to avoid the offensive player scheming to draw a foul or whatever the case is. Like, this is a chess match. This is tactics that it's always happen, right? Because what happens if you don't jump, my step back is guaranteed that's bucket. Now you jump because you think I'm going to shoot it. So this is a mind game, right? That they're mentally destroying you in terms of the offense because they're playing mind games with you because of my ability. Like, that's a skill set, drawing fouls, right? You see Harden, you see Trae Young. That's a skill set. I agree with that because that's part of it. Other mans can't draw fouls like that. There's mans that can. There's mans that can't. Then, obviously going to the line, easier points. Like, so I get why sometimes it's unnatural when, like, let's see the Steph Curry situation. I agree that this one, in this situation, shouldn't be called a foul if you want to adhere to the new rule changes, right? Because that's going to be, like the fine line. Finding that perfect balance is going to be tough. It's either you're one side where you're for the defense. If they make a mistake, once they jump, just as long as the offensive player is unnatural, never call that shit. Or you side with the offensive player that if he actually does draw the foul, right? If he actually jumping into him, doesn't matter. You made a mistake, just don't jump. But to try and make it where it's in between, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm curious to see how they play that out because if they're adding this or adjusting the rules where they're now forceful, like what they said the actual ruling is, they're implementing that offensive players launching into defenders all of this is going to be reduced, severely reduced, right? All of these fouls or non-basketball moves or fouls to draw non-basketball moves of drawn fouls, right? Is that they're going to be trained to identify the non-basketball moves and going to have to reduce the amount of times they call the fouls for it. So offensive players launching into defenders, right? That's one of them. Offensive players abruptly veering off their natural path, right? So sometimes you see Trae Young, he's going straight, then he'll move, bump, and then go up. So that's you veered off your path, stop into him, and then stuff like that. They're going to obviously reduce call in. Shooters kicking their legs out at abnormal angles. So when you're doing a fadeaway, that's the thing. How can you dictate? Sometimes you could tell when it's like he's shooting and he went, and he kicked his legs, like the splits. And you could tell when a man did a fadeaway and he just kicked his leg. That's a natural, like when you fade, if you hoop, sometimes you're going to naturally kick your leg. You don't even notice you kick your leg because you're fading. Like it's the off balance, right? Your body is hard to fade and still be straight up, right? You're off balance. So you're going to kick your leg. You know what I mean? Like that's natural. So it's hard to kind of like, where is the fine line? Where is a blurred line? Like where do you pick and choose? So, and then the last one is offensive players using their off arm to hook the defender. That's what I was talking about earlier, right? When you shield and let's say the man has his hands out and you got a screen and he's coming up to, to kind of slide his feet, but his hand is out. So you go and hook his arm like this and then you go and throw, you know what I mean? To draw the foul. So it looks like he reached, but you actually hooked him. So those are the situations that they now implemented the new rule where it's hella reduced on the foul calls that they actually call on those, right? Or they don't call it at all on those situations. That's what they're basically saying. So when you look at this Steph Curry clip, right? They're saying they didn't call the foul because they're saying offensive players launching into defenders, right? That's point one. That's basically, he launched OD. And I understand that because even though he pump fake and he bit, Nasir Little was landing, but Steph Curry hella jumped into him. It wasn't like pump fake, he land kind of close to you or right on you, and then you jumped slightly, right? You actually jumped OD to try and get it off your step back. So you step back and then went forward OD. So those ones I kind of agree with. I could see where it's like it's OD if the man, like, yes, he made a mistake, but he made a mistake and corrected his mistake by not jumping and launching into you OD. He kind of jumped and kind of stopped himself short. And you kind of lunged into him from Egypt. So, those are the ones where I agree. But now this is where, how do you gauge it? When he actually, let's say other situation where he pump fake, step back, and you jump and you actually land right on me or in front of me. And I slightly go, are you going to count that as a natural act? Are you going to count that as I'm launching into a defender? Like, where's the technicality? Where's the balancing? Where's the fine line? It's like, this is where I think these rule changes can actually break the whole league. Like, I feel like the way I'm seeing this, especially from them ones being them ones, because that's the reason why they get these, because you don't jump on if a guy's doing a step back and he's a basic man, you're not going to jump on that, whatever. Show me, you better make that earn the right to have me react to you. Hit that step back. Oh, you step back on me? Okay, make it. So that's not going to even matter so much to the regular mans. But the elites that, they could hit that. They earned the right. They're shot creators. They're elite guys off the jump. So now when they do that step back, you're overreacting. You're panicking because, oh, my God, he can make that. So now you jump. Now, if you now don't give these star players and these elite players those calls that are actually fouls, obviously depending on the situation, but they're actually fouls, how do you now – they're at a disadvantage. You're making the offensive player with the skill now be at a disadvantage because you're trying to reward the defense, right? Because now, one, I'm the one who's creating these step backs, right? I'm the one who's creating off the dribble. I create off the dribble and I made it, but now I'm countering your counter. You countered by, okay, you're going to jump. So now I can't counter a counter anymore. I can only hit the step back. If he doesn't jump, I hit it. I'm blessed. But now if he jumps, it's just going to be contested and I can't do a counter now. I have to pump fake and just force pick up and then pass out because if he jumps, I can't take advantage of him jumping. That's where now, you're going to see a lot of like complaints for real. Like I could already see it. Like that Steph Curry clip right there. I could already see how this is going to affect a lot of the great players, a lot of the elite players, the stars, like, because they're in this situation often, like literally probably like 9 times a game. If you look at it, if you actually analyze, and when they go to the free throw line, obviously some like they hack and they ripped and stripped. You're trying to stop the defender. So a lot of the times you see this step back, pump fake, draw foul, and then now it makes him the next time he's not going to jump, so now hit the step. Like these are counter chess match type of moves, and you're not allowing the chess match to work. So you're going to reward the defender. And this, you could see percentages drop because they're throwing it and they're not getting the foul. So that's miss, right? Percentages might drop, probably will drop. Points per games might drop, especially guys like Harden, guys who, like, a lot of the times, that's part of their bag. That's part of their game. That's part of their points is drawing fouls and going to the free throw line. AD, even Bron don't do the step back, but maybe unnatural, like jumping into a guy. Like, this might not affect Bron really that much because you don't really use intangible IQ to draw fouls. He just brolic with it. So he gets his fouls just regularly, right? So it won't really affect Bron, but Trae Young, right? Trae Young, Harden, the Tatums, sometimes the KDs, the Kyries, like IQ, just shot creator IQ guys, like they apply this 5 times per game guaranteed, right? So like, but there's guys who abuse it. Obviously Harden, Trae Young, Luka's one of them. Like they abuse these type of, especially the step back, jump into man. Like Luka abuses that because the step back is slow, and once he pump fakes, you think he's doing it. Jokic does it too. That pump head faking and jump into man's, like a lot of these guys do it. DeRozan, like there's so many guys that do it. So you're going to see like a lot of technicals because, again, they're frustrated. Like, this could go downhill. This could make a great season, potentially, that's about to be great. It could go one or the other. It could go where it's rusty at first and mans are complaining and now they don't do the shit. So now you just have what they call real basketball. Mans are just playing and you're just being honest with it and no pump faking, scheming to draw fouls. But that's part of basketball. That's, like I said, the chain reaction, a counter to a counter, a chess match and all that type. That's part of basketball, fam. So are you really going to, you're now changing the game and diluting the game because mans are making mistakes. That's what it comes down to. I sided with the players on this one. Don't make a mistake. Don't jump. Don't jump. You're only jumping because you're scared. You scared I'm going to hit it. So now we're going to reward you because you made a mistake. Like, that to me is horrendous. Like, I feel that they should have just adjusted to where now if he launches OD, you call it. But now to actually say, like, how do you dictate what's a non-basketball act? Like, just because you can't just say because he kicked his leg is non-basketball act. There's sometimes a natural basketball act is kicking the leg. Like, how are you going to dictate that? Oh, no launches just because he launched forward automatically no. Sometimes the launch forward is pump fake and you can lean into a shot. There's leaners. There's leaning shots. Like, you're acting like that don't exist. So what? Now you're going to, how do you dictate that? And that's where you could see, I could see this. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Like the NBA, that one time where they were calling, I forgot what year it was. They were calling, even right now, they're calling illegal screens OD. Like that Nets game, what's it called? Nicholas Claxton and all these guys were getting moving screens 5 in a row OD. They're they're enforcing, they're doing, points of emphasis, and they're enforcing these rules a lot. And they use the preseason to do that, and they did it in the summer league as well too. But remember that one year where they were calling travels out the ass, and they were calling moving screens and technicals on guys reacting OD. Like even if you just went, they called it technical. You just went, they called it technical. I remember when they implemented it OD, and it was a point of emphasis. And then after a month in the season, they went back to normal. They didn't even announce it. You just stopped seeing them call it. You stopped seeing them because they were calling pivots like pump fake, and then they call travel every single time, literally like high school, right? Every little one they called, and then eventually they stopped doing it. So is it one of those things where they're trying to implement it just to see, and then the reaction, if it's so bad and it's going downhill, people are like, ew, what is this is atrocious. You know what I mean? The players are complaining, and do they actually just remove it? Or do they stick with it? Because some of them that they stuck with, the technicals off of taunting, they stuck with that. And that's been forever in the league now, right? So is it you don't know how they're going to play it out? I think that they're going to have to assess the effect, the negative effect versus the positive effect. And which, is it worth it, right? Is it worth it? If it's, I want to complain and mans are complaining, but then the actual outcome of the game is closer games, is more, it's more intense. It's natural. Guys are getting padded, or, you're starting to see better competition out of it. Then maybe you keep it. Right. And man just have to adjust. Or if it's now nothing has changed, you're just getting more complaining, more crying, more technicals, more, and you know what I mean? And you're getting more pouted and it just looks sloppy and looks ugly. Then do you keep it? No, you don't keep it. So we'll have to wait and see how it comes out. Or how it pans out. We'll wait and see, obviously. But, if I have to just guess and make a guess, I think that this is going to do more negative than positive because, again, it's been a while that this is embedded in man's games. This is how man's games are. This is how they've been. So it's been like that for a while. So we'll see how this transpires. We'll see how it plays out, obviously. But, we'll kind of just monitor it and kind of just see. But this is a recipe. I think it's a recipe for disaster, but you never know. You never know, man. You never know. Obviously, this could be the greatest thing they ever did, but they just have to get through the rough patch at the beginning. So we'll see how it transpires, see how it pans out. You already know. It's True Talks. It's True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. Yeah, pay attention to, obviously, it's preseason, so, the teams that you like, see how they move in rotations, right? They're just getting stuff down packed, see kind of offense to kind of move in. There might not be a lot of marquee guys playing in certain situations because, again, especially like the Nets and Lakers, they got hit by the injury bug. So are you really gonna play them, their main guys, a lot of the preseason games? They'll probably play 2 out of the 4, 3 out of the 5, 2 out of the 5, stuff like that, maybe even 1, because the issue with them has been injuries. Other teams that hasn't been injuries, they're going to play their guys all 5 preseason games and take it differently. So it just depends on your team, depends on your context and your situation. Obviously, Lakers are more older too. Don't waste their talent and waste the injury at risk playing preseason, right? There's no need, right? You need camaraderie, use the regular season. Like, every team is different. So, depending on the situation, we'll see how these preseason games go. But for now, off the first 2 days, I've been liking the preseason games, and you've been seeing, a lot of, like I said, what I just talked about has been, what's been going viral and what's been like, God damn, this can really change the NBA for real. So let me know what y'all think. If y'all think it's beautiful, if y'all think it's horrendous, or what y'all think. You already know. Like I said, it's True Talks. It's True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no down here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. And I'm out, man.